Now let's go through our agenda for our work plan meeting. Like I said, work plan is really about the transition from the sales process and into the project process. So some of this agenda is going to sound very much like the start of a project, or basically some project management stuff. And I want to include it and kind of talk about why it matters for the sale, because you're now going from sale to project, and so you just want to make sure that transition happens really smoothly. And these are just some things that I started including in my kickoff meeting, to make sure that process is as smooth as possible. So first, the time. So typically work plan meetings, just because you have a lot of stakeholders in this meeting, and you might have people that haven't been participating in the project so far, typically, these meetings are going to be, about 2 hours. You're going to be reviewing a lot of material. You're going to be looking at a lot of stuff. You're going to be introducing a lot of people, and these are some people that might not have been involved in the proposal process, so you're going to be repeating yourself a lot. And that's really a lot of what the sales process is almost like repeating exactly what you said last meeting and this meeting, because again, you sell a lot, you do this a lot, but for the customer, this is a very large education process. So, just because you said mood boards one day, it doesn't mean it necessarily sunk in, so you're gonna be kind of going through a lot of this information again, because this is the project kickoff. You're making sure everybody involved is on the same page. So the first part of this meeting is your formalities. And what I mean by that is literally check, contract. If the formalities can't happen, I'm not saying you kick everybody out of your office or something like that, but I mean you have to kind of set that expectation that at the start of the meeting we're going to review that we have a signed check and that we've got deposit in hand, because that's what this is all about. This is about us moving forward on the project. We've gone from us discussing and talking about possibilities to we're ready to go, and we start this meeting with the formalities of get the check, the contract, get them out of the way, and then everybody can breathe a sigh of relief and know that this business is really happening. The second part of this meeting is you're going to introduce all of the stakeholders. And that's really stakeholders and resources. So if you're in a physical meeting, you go around the table and have everybody introduce themselves. Kind of a cheesy technique that you can use for this is if you have a ball and you pass it around the meeting room, and each person passes the ball to another person, or you can literally just go around this circle and one person to the next. Nothing too cheesy, but sometimes you can use some icebreakers in these situations, and maybe ask a question or ask everybody to say what their favorite vacation was or something like that. So you just want to use this opportunity to allow everybody to get to know each other and to introduce all of the stakeholders that are involved in the project. This is one of those steps where if it's just you and the business owner, and you guys are the only people that are in the project, and you're a freelancer and you've been working with them the entire time, obviously this is a step that you can kind of overlook. But if you happen to have any subcontractors that are working with you or other team members that you're going to bring in, then you definitely want to have this step, and you want to introduce who those stakeholders are. The next step is going to be to review the scope of work. Again, this might sound repetitive, like you've already reviewed the proposal with them before, but again, if you've got multiple stakeholders and other people involved in the project, now that it's a real signed deal, you want everybody to know what's going on in the project. You just want to walk through the proposal, just like you were doing a proposal presentation, but if you've got a project manager or a designer or a developer, and they have maybe, an assistant and a marketing head or whatever, you want everybody to listen to the proposal one more time and make sure they understand exactly what's going on in the project. And again, this might sound like you're repeating yourself over and over, but this type of process stuff is going to really set up the rest of your project. And it's going to reinforce that this whole sales thing that you just took them on is exactly how you actually operate in your business. After you've reviewed your scope of work, I like to introduce any kind of tools or project management suites. So if you use anything like FreshBooks for billing, Basecamp for projects, or Podio, or whatever, whatever tools that you use to manage all the chaos in your life, if your customer is interacting with it and they're having to use it, then you definitely want to introduce that system and maybe give them a 10 or 15 minute training. At times in our business, we've even had separate training sessions for the project management tool that we use. You don't want to assume that anybody's just going to pick up something like Basecamp and be able to use it. You want to introduce where you're going to put all of your goodies and where the central collection point is. And then you're going to want to make sure that everybody knows how to use that and understands that. This is going to help your kickoff and the rest of your project go really smoothly. After you do that, typically what's going to happen is you're going to use that tool to keep track of your calendar and milestones. So then you're going to set your calendar in major milestones. So again, you've moved this from an opportunity to a real project. Now it's time to put some stuff on the calendar. So you've set up your PM system and you've showed it to them, and you're actually going to show them, when this stuff's going to happen in the project. After that, you're going to assign stakeholders their tasks. So anything that you need your customer to do, you're going to assign them the tasks at this point in time. If they need to get you content, if they need to get you merchant systems and merchant gateway IDs and that kind of stuff, whatever it is, you're going to want to have prepared for that ahead of time, and you're going to want to actually assign them at this point. So again, we're moving from the sales process to the real deal, right? So this is where you're in business, you're moving forward, and you're going to start assigning some stuff to some people. And again, this is kind of touching on a little project management here and how you actually build out a project. But again, this is the transition. You can kind of see where we're still talking about some sales related stuff, but we're really getting more into PMing here. But it's your job as a salesperson because you've built the relationship and you don't want to just pass the buck. You want to be involved in this process to help your project team actually kind of take the torch and continue moving into the project phase. And then, you guessed it, we're going to schedule our next interaction. So just like in the sales process, you're going to keep this practice of always scheduling your next meeting in your current meeting with your customer. You're never going to move to the phone tag methodology or the email schedule creation headache, right? While you're sitting there in front of somebody, you're always going to set the expectation of when you're meeting next. And granted, that's going to be in your project process, and that's a whole other course. But at this point, you're going to keep that practice. One of the things we actually do, and I'll give you a quick project tip, is we always kept a standing meeting with every one of our open projects. So every week at the same time, same place, go-to meeting or whatever, we'd always have a meeting with our customer and review the stuff that we finished that week and what's assigned for the next week. So instead of, allowing 2 or 3 weeks to pass or just kind of putting it out in the air and being like, I'm going to work on this until they call me and ask me what the heck's going on with my project, right? We're not doing that, right? We've got a professional process here. We're always scheduling our next interaction, and it can be helpful to set that on a repeating same day of the week, every week, same time. So that way you can schedule all of your project meetings in this first kickoff meeting, which is a really cool concept. And it's something that we use to manage our projects that worked really, really well. And so if you've moved through this whole thing and you've gotten to this part, then you're going to be able to give yourself a nice big pat on the back because your job as the web design salesperson is now over. You've finished everything. You've gotten the project in a good place. It's got the best chance of success for actually being completed, and you've actually closed a deal. So now is a good time to break out the bottle of champagne and to celebrate. Once this meeting is over, your job is done, and you've done exactly what you needed to do.